I never thought I would find myself in this situation. My name is David, and I've been married to Lisa for 6 years. We had what I thought was a solid relationship, at least on the surface. Sure, we had our ups and downs. What couple does? But after Lisa's first affair 2 years ago, I believed we were working on rebuilding our trust. We even started seeing a couples therapist to help us navigate those rocky waters. Ironically, that therapist was supposed to help us mend our relationship, not destroy it. The warning signs had been there, though. I remember sitting at the dining room table one night, watching Lisa as she scrolled through her phone, a smirk plastered on her face. I asked her what was so funny, but she just shrugged it off and said nothing. It became a pattern. Each day I saw her more absorbed in her phone, her laughter echoing in the house, but it was laughter I wasn't a part of anymore. I tried to dismiss it, thinking maybe it was just her reconnecting with old friends or something harmless, but deep down that nagging feeling started to creep in. The turning point came. On an ordinary Wednesday afternoon, Lisa had a therapy session with our couple's therapist, Dr. Matthews, while I had planned to run some errands. I had just parked the car and was about to head into the grocery store when I remembered I left my wallet at home. Frustrated, I turned around and headed back. I parked the car in the driveway and noticed Lisa's car was still there. I figured she must still be in her session. I approached the front door, but something stopped me. A voice inside urged me to peek through the window. I could see her sitting in the living room, but the scene turned into something horrifying, a scene I wish I had never witnessed. Dr. Matthews was there, and they were too close. The way their bodies were angled, how they were sharing hushed laughter, it hit me like a ton of bricks. My heart raced, and a sense of dread curled in my stomach. I felt lightheaded as I pressed my face closer to the window, desperate to make sense of what I was seeing. Then it happened. The moment that shattered my heart into a million pieces. Lisa leaned in and with a flicker of vulnerability that felt too intimate for a therapist-client relationship, she kissed him. It was a soft kiss, but it felt like a slap across my face. In that instant, reality twisted into a dark, choking fog. I turned away from the window, the world around me fading into an overwhelming blur. I ran to my car, my hands trembling on the steering wheel, unsure of what to do next. Once I reached the grocery store, I sat in the parking lot, tears streaming down my face. I felt a whirlwind of emotions crashing over me: anger, betrayal, despair. How could she do this? After everything we had been through, it felt like a cruel joke, one I never signed up for. I wanted to scream, to confront her right then and there, but part of me knew I needed to collect myself first. I had to confront her, but I needed to do it on my terms. The drive home was agonizingly slow. I thought about all the lies she had told me, the promises she had made. I could still hear her words echoing in my mind, claiming she wanted to rebuild our relationship, that she was committed to making things work. The weight of that betrayal was suffocating. When I finally walked through the front door, I could hear her voice drift through the hallway. My fists clenched and my heart thundered in my chest. I took a deep breath, preparing for the confrontation that would change everything. I had no idea what to expect from her, but I knew one thing: I needed the truth. As I stepped into the living room, Lisa was sitting on the couch, her hair perfectly styled and a bright smile plastered on her face. She looked up, her eyes sparkling with an energy that felt all too artificial. It made my stomach churn. I wanted to shout, to unleash the fury boiling inside me, but I forced myself to take a breath. I needed to be calm, collected. I had to let her talk first. "Hey babe, you're back early. How was the store?" she chirped, her voice overly cheerful. I clenched my jaw, resisting the urge to snap at her. "We need to talk." The moment those words left my mouth, her smile faded, and I felt a shift in the air. She immediately sensed the gravity of the situation. "What's wrong?" she asked, her tone shifting from cheerful to wary. I took a seat across from her, trying to maintain eye contact despite the whirlwind of emotions coursing through me. "I saw you," I said, my voice steady but loaded with unspoken pain. Lisa's brow furrowed in confusion. "Saw me? What do you mean?" "Don't play dumb, Lisa. I saw you with Dr. Matthews," I said, each word dripping with anger and betrayal. "I saw you kiss him." Her face paled and the color drained from her cheeks. I watched as the realization crashed over her: she had been caught. I could see her scrambling for words, her mind racing to construct a defense. "David, it's not what it looks like," she stammered. "I swear it was just a friendly moment. He was helping me with my feelings about our marriage and it just happened." "Just happened? Are you kidding me?" My voice rose and I struggled to keep it in check. "You're telling me that kissing him was just a friendly moment? You're still lying to me after everything we've been through. I was vulnerable, you have no idea how hard it's been for me," she shot back defensively, her tone shifting from panic to aggression. "You were the one who kept pushing me into therapy. You wanted me to open up. That's not an excuse for cheating." I exploded, anger surging through me. "You didn't just open up, you crossed a line that you can never uncross." The tension in the room escalated, thick enough to cut with a knife. I felt the frustration boiling over and a wave of sadness washed over me. How could she be so selfish? After everything I had done to support her, to try to make this work, she had betrayed me with the very person we trusted to help us heal. "David, please, I swear I'll make it up to you," she pleaded, her voice dropping to a whimper. "I made a mistake and it wasn't supposed to go that far. I love you. I want to fix this." Her words felt hollow, a desperate attempt to claw her way back into my good graces. But I couldn't ignore the betrayal, the images of them together haunting my mind. "You love me," I scoffed, my heart heavy with disbelief. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have betrayed my trust like that." I could see the realization hitting her that her words were not enough to sway me. The tears started to fall, and for a brief moment I felt a flicker of sympathy. But then I remembered the kiss, the intimacy shared with someone else. That flicker vanished, replaced by the cold, hard truth of her betrayal. "David, I'll do anything. I'll cut ties with him, I promise. I'll go to individual therapy. I'll do whatever it takes to prove to you that I'm committed to us," she begged, her voice breaking. I had always known she was a good actress, but this was too much. I stared at her, the woman I thought I knew, and realized this was not just another bump in the road. This was a massive chasm. "You've already proven how committed you are, Lisa. You made your choice," I said quietly, my heart breaking as I uttered those words. She flinched at my tone, and I felt an overwhelming wave of sadness wash over me. I had never wanted to be in this position, but I knew I couldn't stay in a relationship built on lies. I needed to think about what I truly wanted. "David, please don't leave me," she whimpered, her voice barely above a whisper now. "I can't lose you." But it was too late for please. I needed time to process everything. I stood up, my heart heavy. "I need space, Lisa. I can't look at you right now." I turned away, leaving her in the living room, sobbing softly behind me. The door closed behind me and I could still hear her cries. My heart ached, but I knew I had to gather my thoughts, figure out what came next. I stepped outside, the cool evening air hitting my face, and I felt the weight of my decision settling in. It was a crossroads I never expected, but the path ahead was mine to choose. The next few days passed in a blur of raw emotions. I felt like I was living in a nightmare, one where every moment was infused with a sense of disbelief and heartbreak. I had moved into the spare room, trying to create some distance, while grappling with the fallout of Lisa's betrayal. Every time I passed her on the way to the kitchen or heard her voice calling my name, I felt a pang of grief mixed with anger. It was as if I were stuck in a time loop, reliving the same cycle of sorrow. During those days, Lisa tried to reach out, sending me countless texts, pleading for my forgiveness, promising she would change. But each message felt like a dagger digging deeper into my heart. I didn't want to hear about her regrets or her love anymore. I wanted to be angry, to feel justified in my pain, and to confront the reality of what had happened. On the fourth day, I decided I couldn't avoid the inevitable confrontation with Dr. Matthews. If he had betrayed my trust as well, I had every right to address it. I called the therapist's office, my heart pounding in my chest, and scheduled a session for that very afternoon. I needed to know how deep this betrayal ran, and I wanted answers. When I arrived at the office, I felt a storm of emotions swirling inside me. I sat in the reception area, waiting, the sterile smell of the office doing nothing to soothe my nerves. Each minute felt like an eternity as I rehearsed what I wanted to say. Would I confront him directly? Would I demand an explanation? My mind raced. Finally, the door opened and Dr. Matthews stepped out. He was a tall man with an air of calm authority that had once made me feel at ease, but now I felt nothing but animosity towards him. He greeted me with a warm smile that made my skin crawl. "David, glad you could make it in. How have you been?" "Let's skip the pleasantries," I interrupted, my voice steady but laced with anger. "We need to talk about what happened between you and Lisa." His expression shifted, confusion flickering across his face as he motioned for me to enter his office. "All right, let's sit down and discuss this." As I settled into the chair across from him, I took a deep breath, trying to remain composed. "I saw you with my wife," I stated bluntly. "I saw you kiss her." "How could you let it go that far?" He looked taken aback, and I could see the gears turning in his mind as he tried to compose himself. "David, I assure you it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. I never intended for that to happen." "A mistake?" I shot back, incredulity rising in my chest. "You're a therapist. You should know better than to cross that line, especially when we were in a vulnerable state. You were supposed to help us, not destroy our marriage." He rubbed his temples, a look of concern washing over his face. "I understand that you're upset and you have every right to be, but I need you to know that moments like that can happen, especially in therapeutic settings. Emotions run high and sometimes boundaries get blurred." "Blurred? You think that's an acceptable excuse?" I leaned forward, feeling the anger boiling inside me. "You've broken my trust. You've broken my marriage. You should be ashamed." Dr. Matthews remained calm, though I could see that my words were affecting him. "I take full responsibility for my actions, David. I know it's hurtful, and I can't change what happened. But I genuinely believe that you and Lisa can still find a way to heal from this." "Heal? How can we heal when the very person tasked with helping us is a part of the betrayal?" I shook my head in disbelief. "You've ruined any chance we had of rebuilding our relationship. I don't think I can ever look at either of you the same way again." His expression softened. "I understand that this feels insurmountable right now, but I truly believe that healing is possible. It starts with honesty and confronting the pain together." "Together?" I scoffed. "You expect me to sit in a room with Lisa and you after what you've done? There's no way I can trust either of you." He paused for a moment, searching my eyes for understanding. "I won't pressure you into anything you're not ready for, but I do believe that confronting this situation is the first step towards clarity. You need to decide what you want moving forward." I slumped back in my chair, the weight of his words mixing with the raw anger inside me. I realized he was right in one aspect. I had to decide what I wanted. I could either let this betrayal consume me, or I could find a path forward, even if that path involved the painful task of disentangling from Lisa. After our session, I left the office feeling a mix of confusion and anger. My thoughts were chaotic as I drove home, trying to piece together my next steps. I had to consider all the options. Could I salvage my marriage, or was it time to let go? When I walked back into the house, I found Lisa waiting in the living room, her eyes red and puffy from crying. She looked up at me, and for the first time I saw genuine fear on her face. "How did it go?" she asked softly. "It was eye-opening," I replied, my voice void of emotion. "We need to talk again, Lisa, but this time it's going to be different." I realized then that I was no longer the man who would let her walk all over me. I was ready to confront the reality of our situation, ready to demand accountability from her and myself. It was time to lay everything on the table. The atmosphere in the house was charged as I faced Lisa, the gravity of our situation hanging heavily in the air. I could see that she was desperately trying to gauge my mood, her eyes darting between hope and fear. I needed to put my feelings into words, but I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure of whether to jump or to find a way back. "Lisa, we need to have a serious conversation about what happened," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "This isn't just about you and Dr. Matthews. It's about us, our marriage, and where we go from here." She nodded slowly, her demeanor shifting from defensiveness to vulnerability. "I know I've messed up. I'm so sorry, David. I never intended to hurt you." Her voice trembled, and I could see the tears welling in her eyes once more. "Sorry isn't enough," I interjected, feeling a mix of anger and sadness swirl within me. "You had an affair with the one person we trusted to help us. You destroyed that trust, Lisa, and now I need to understand why." She hesitated, her lips trembling as she searched for words. I was feeling so lost after the first affair. I thought I could rely on Dr. Matthews to guide me through my feelings. I started to develop feelings for him, and I let that cloud my judgment. I was weak. Weak. I echoed, my heart pounding. This isn't just a moment of weakness, this is a choice you made. You chose to betray me, to put your needs ahead of our marriage. You put your emotional state above everything we built together. I know, she cried, her voice rising. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought I could keep it separate, that I could handle it, but I got caught up in it, and before I knew it, I had crossed a line I never should have crossed. Crossed a line. I leaned forward, my frustration boiling over. You didn't just cross a line, you leapt over a chasm. You kissed him, Lisa. How could you do that after everything we've worked for? Her shoulders slumped, and I could see the weight of my words crashing down on her. I was scared, David. I didn't want to lose you, but I didn't know how to cope with my feelings. When he showed me attention, I let myself get swept away. It felt good to be desired again. Desired? I scoffed. What about me? Did you ever think about how it would feel for me to find out you were seeking someone else's affection? Did you think about the pain you would cause? I didn't think, she shouted, her voice breaking. I was confused, and I thought I could handle it. I didn't want to hurt you. I just wanted to feel alive again. By betraying me. I shot back, my heart heavy with disappointment. You took the easy way out, Lisa. You chose to sleep with the therapist instead of confronting your own feelings. You gave in to temptation instead of fighting for our marriage. The silence that followed was deafening. I could see the realization sinking in, could see her grappling with the consequences of her actions. I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger and pity for her, but I also knew that I had to stay strong. I had to protect myself. David, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper, what do you want from me? What can I do to fix this? I took a deep breath, trying to collect my thoughts. You say you want to fix this, but it's going to take more than just words. I need you to show me, Lisa. I need to know that you're committed to rebuilding our relationship and that you're willing to put in the work. I will, I promise, she replied, her eyes wide with desperation. I'll do anything you ask. I'll go to therapy alone. I'll cut ties with Dr. Matthews. I'll do whatever it takes. Cutting ties isn't enough, I said, my voice firm. You need to understand why you did this and how we can move forward. I want you to take responsibility for your actions and really dig into the reasons behind your choices. This isn't just about punishment, it's about understanding. I can do that, she said, her voice breaking. I just want you to know how sorry I am. I was wrong, and I never wanted to hurt you. Sorry is a start, but it's not enough to rebuild what we had. I replied, my heart aching. You need to show me that you're serious about repairing this. I can't just pretend this didn't happen. It's too big. Lisa nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes to prove to you that I'm committed to us. As I watched her cry, I felt a wave of conflicting emotions wash over me. Part of me wanted to hold her, to comfort her, but I knew that wouldn't change what had happened. I had to protect my heart. This is going to be a long road, Lisa, I said quietly. I don't know if we can fix this, but if we're going to try, we need to be completely honest with each other. No more lies, no more hiding. I promise, she said softly, wiping her tears. I'll be completely honest from now on. I'll work to regain your trust. I nodded, feeling a flicker of hope amidst the heartbreak. As I looked at her, I couldn't help but wonder if it was even possible to rebuild what had been shattered. But I knew one thing for certain. I had to be cautious, to tread carefully, and to keep my heart guarded as we embarked on this uncertain journey together. It was time to confront the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The following weeks were a whirlwind of emotions and tumultuous conversations. We had a long road ahead, filled with attempts to rebuild the trust that Lisa had shattered. She was committed, or at least she claimed to be, diving headfirst into individual therapy while I remained cautious, keeping my heart close to my chest. I was grateful that she was taking steps to understand herself, but I was also painfully aware that actions spoke louder than words. Every day felt like a test. We would sit down for dinner, and I'd watch as she tried to engage in conversations, her laughter seeming forced at times. I knew she was trying to show me that she was still the woman I had fallen in love with, but the weight of her betrayal loomed over us like a dark cloud. I could see remnants of guilt etched on her face, and each time I caught her gaze, I was reminded of the kiss that had shattered my world. One evening, as we were cleaning up after dinner, Lisa turned to me, her expression serious. "David, I think we need to talk about Dr. Matthews." My pulse quickened. "What about him?" I asked, my tone clipped. "I don't think I should continue seeing him for individual therapy," she said, her voice steady. "I know it sounds like an easy way to avoid facing the truth, but I feel like I need to find someone else, someone who doesn't have any association with our past." I was surprised but also relieved. "That might be a good idea," I said, trying to keep my emotions in check. "I think separating your healing from our past could help you gain a clearer perspective." "I just want to be honest with you," she replied, her eyes searching mine. "I want to make this work and I want to do it right." "Good," I said, feeling a flicker of hope. "But this isn't just about you finding a new therapist. It's also about us. We need to communicate openly. If something is bothering you, don't hesitate, let me know." "I promise I will," she said, and I could see the sincerity in her eyes. The next few days continued with this cautious optimism. Lisa found a new therapist, and I could sense a change in her demeanor. She was more engaged, more reflective. It was a small start, but I was afraid to let myself hope too much. I didn't want to fall into a cycle of disappointment again. However, right as we began to find a semblance of balance, the storm hit again. One evening, Lisa received a text while we were watching TV. I noticed her expression shift, her face growing pale as she read the message. "What is it?" I asked, my heart skipping a beat as I prepared for another potential bombshell. It's from Dr. Matthews," she admitted, her voice shaking. "He wants to meet. He says he needs to talk to me about my progress." My fists clenched at the thought of that man re-entering our lives. What does he think he could possibly say that would be helpful? He already ruined everything. My anger flared and I couldn't help but raise my voice. "David, please," she implored, her eyes wide. "I need to hear him out. I'm trying to process everything that happened. It's not just going to disappear." I took a deep breath, wrestling with my own emotions. "You know I don't want him in our lives anymore. It's just a reminder of how he betrayed us." "I get that, I really do," she said softly. "But I think it's important for me to understand my mistakes, and if he can help with that, I need to at least hear him out." I stared at her, feeling the walls closing in. "Fine, but I want to be there. I can't let you go alone." She nodded slowly, and I could see the tension in her shoulders ease just a bit. "Okay, I'll let him know you'll come." The day of the meeting arrived, and I felt a storm brewing inside me. We arrived at Dr. Matthews's office, and as I walked through the door, I could feel my heart racing. The man who had caused our lives to spiral was sitting behind his desk, looking as calm and collected as ever. The moment he saw us, his expression shifted from professional to slightly sheepish, and I couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. "David, Lisa," he greeted us, his voice smooth. "I'm glad you could both make it. I know this is a challenging situation." I kept my expression neutral, but I could feel Lisa's tension beside me. "Let's just get to it," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What do you want?" Dr. Matthews took a deep breath, his gaze shifting between us. "I wanted to talk about how you both have been coping since the last session. I believe it's crucial to process what happened, not just the affair itself, but the factors leading to it." Lisa nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. "I've been working on understanding my feelings, but it's hard to separate them from everything that happened. Things can feel intertwined, especially after a betrayal," he replied calmly. "But it's essential to understand that your choices have consequences, and facing those consequences is part of healing." "Consequences?" I echoed, my anger bubbling to the surface again. "What about your consequences? You were the one who crossed the line, yet here we are, you sitting comfortably in your office while our lives are in shambles." "David, please," Lisa urged, her voice shaky. "Let him speak." Dr. Matthews looked at me, his expression serious. "I understand your anger, and you have every right to feel that way. But I believe that confronting the past is important for both of you. I'm here to help you navigate that." As I listened to him talk, part of me wanted to scream, to tell him how his actions had hurt us, but deep down, I knew that this was necessary. We had to tackle this together, even if it felt unbearable. Fine, I said finally, my voice low. Let's try to figure this out. But I need you to understand that this won't be easy. Trust has been broken, and we need to rebuild it from the ground up. Lisa squeezed my hand under the table, and I could feel her warmth radiating through me. I knew this was going to be a long, painful journey, but if we were going to get through it, we had to confront the truths that lay ahead, no matter how painful they might be. The meeting with Dr. Matthews was an emotional roller coaster. I could sense the tension in the room, but it had also opened up a new avenue of communication between Lisa and me. After the session, as we drove home in silence, I felt a flicker of cautious optimism. Maybe we could navigate this storm together after all. In the weeks that followed, we both committed to facing our issues head-on. Lisa continued her individual therapy, and I started attending my own sessions to unpack my feelings and process the betrayal. It was hard work, and there were days when the weight of it all felt unbearable. I found myself battling resentment, but I also realized that I had to be willing to forgive, not for Lisa's sake, but for my own peace of mind. One evening, after a particularly intense session, I returned home to find Lisa waiting for me. Her eyes were red from crying, and I could feel the heaviness in the air. "David," she began, her voice shaky, "I've been doing a lot of thinking. I want to be completely open with you about everything, even the things I've kept hidden." I nodded, bracing myself for what was to come. "I'm listening. I've realized that I was using my feelings for Dr. Matthews as a way to escape. I didn't want to confront my own insecurities and the fact that I was scared of losing you again. I let that fear distort my judgment," she confessed, her voice trembling. "I didn't just betray you, I betrayed myself." Her honesty was a step in the right direction, and I could feel the air between us shift. "It takes a lot of courage to admit that," I said softly. "But understanding those feelings is part of healing. We can't move forward without confronting the truth." "I'm committed to doing this," she said, her eyes pleading for my understanding. "I want our marriage to work, but I understand that it's going to take time for both of us to heal." As we talked late into the night, I could feel the walls between us slowly begin to crack, allowing room for vulnerability and honesty. We shared our fears, our hopes, and the deep-seated issues we had both avoided for too long. It was liberating to finally lay everything out on the table. However, I knew that forgiveness wasn't a switch I could turn on. It would take time and consistency to rebuild the trust we had lost. Lisa's willingness to be transparent was a step in the right direction, but I still needed to guard my heart. As the days turned into weeks, we continued our individual and joint therapy sessions. We focused on rebuilding our communication skills and understanding each other's emotional needs. I saw changes in Lisa, an earnestness to be better, to be the partner I needed her to be. But I also recognized the persistence of my own doubts. Each time she went out with friends or had a session with her therapist, I felt that familiar knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. One day, during one of our therapy sessions, I voiced my concerns. "I want to trust you, Lisa, but every time you leave the house, I can't shake the feeling that you might slip up again." I admitted, my voice breaking. "I understand, and I can't blame you for feeling that way," she replied. "I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to work with me to rebuild. I won't let my past choices dictate our future." Hearing her say that was a relief, but I also realized that I had to let go of the constant fear of betrayal. I had to allow myself to believe that she was genuinely committed to making things work. Slowly, I began to see glimpses of the woman I had fallen in love with, the woman who was willing to fight for our marriage. Then one night, as we sat watching TV together, I turned to her, taking a deep breath. "Do you remember when we first started dating, how carefree we were?" A smile flitted across her lips. "Yeah, those were great times. We had so much fun. Let's try to rediscover that," I suggested. "Let's focus on the good and make new memories together. We can't erase the past, but we can work on creating a better future." "I'd love that," she said, her eyes lighting up. "Let's make it our goal to reconnect, to find that spark again." From that moment on, we made an effort to prioritize our relationship. We planned small weekend getaways, revisited our favorite restaurants, and even began exploring new hobbies together. It wasn't always easy, and there were moments when the past would rear its ugly head, but we learned to communicate openly and address our feelings as they arose. One evening, as we sat on the back porch watching the sunset, I felt a surge of hope. "I never thought we'd be here after everything that happened," I said, looking at Lisa, "but I'm proud of how far we've come." "Me too," she replied, her hand intertwining with mine. "It's not just about what we've been through, it's about how we've grown from it. I love you, David, and I'm grateful for the chance to rebuild." As we sat together under the fading light, I realized that while the road to recovery was long and complicated, it was worth it. I had learned valuable lessons about trust, vulnerability, and the importance of communication. I had also learned that love isn't just about the good times, it's also about weathering the storms together. As I reflected on our journey, I felt a renewed sense of commitment. Moving forward, we would continue to work on our relationship, knowing that it required effort, patience, and a willingness to forgive and grow together. I still had scars from the betrayal, but I was learning to embrace them. As part of our story, a story of resilience, love, and ultimately healing.